What's up guys, my name is Ben. Welcome to the Swanky Productions channel where I put one new snowmobile video out every week in the wintertime. I'm sad to say that today will actually be the last video for this season, but if you want to make sure you catch more next year, click that Swanky Cat logo, click that bell after you subscribe, and that way it'll let you know as soon as I start putting videos out next year. So I am really excited about this video, and that's because C&A Pro actually sent these over to me to do some testing on. Big thanks to them. Really looking forward to getting these out on the trail. But just before we do, I'll kind of walk you guys through them. These are going to be the XCS model. So these are not actually what you'd expect to see on a four-stroke sled. They normally recommend the MTX, which is quite a bit wider, which makes sense with the extra weight for a four-stroke. The rest of the dimensions and everything on there is pretty much the same. The profile on the bottom here is actually not all that different. These kind of dip down here right about where my thumb is, where the MTXs don't. But other than the width, they're not going to be too different. And I think once we get these out on the trail and you guys see what kind of conditions that I ride on, I think you'll maybe understand a little bit more why we went with this ski, which is a crossover ski, kind of a little bit of off-trail, a little bit of on-trail, rather than the wider MTX skis. So we've got all the mounting hardware here. And for carbines, we decided to go with these 8-inch Woodies since I've got over 96 studs in the F1100 track. So these can only go on one way, otherwise the holes don't line up. Looks like these need a little bit of convincing. And these are nylock nuts, so we don't have to put any blue Loctite on them unless you remove them and reuse them. And then once this bar is sucked down tight to the bottom of the ski, you know you're good to go. Now before we head out to the garage to take the skis on the sled, I'm going to install these little spools. They're little hat looking deals that go right on the insides here. They do go in pretty hard, so the best way that I've found to install them is just some sort of a C-clamp. Really works pretty well. The last thing we've got to do is stick the rubber dampener in here. So these have a side that's a little bit taller, which is going to be the back side here. That's going to go towards the back of the ski, and that just gets dropped in right like that. So I'm going to get the other one ready, and then we'll take them out to the garage. So if you guys have been watching all season, you might remember for a while I borrowed the C&A Pro XPT Trail Performance skis off my buddy ZR6000 and stuck them on the F1100 for a couple miles. And I have to say, ever since I've switched back to the stock ski, I really realized how much I dislike these and how ugly they are. I cannot wait to get these things off of this sled, so let's get these removed. This might be a little bit heavier. I guess maybe I'll grab my scales in a second here, but just to kind of give you an idea of what the profile looks like of these, obviously quite a bit different on the bottom side there. A lot more lines on the C&A Pro to kind of keep you in line. Definitely a bit wider as well. But as far as the length goes, they're actually pretty similar. I think maybe the C&A Pro are just a hair longer. We've got both sets set up on scales with the corresponding hardware. Let's see what these things weigh in at. 13.7. Ooh, 18.7 pounds. So that means the C&A Pro skis are 5 pounds heavier. But my guess is we'll get a lot more out of the C&A Pro skis than that 5 pounds of added weight is going to take away. So the mounting kit comes with these two washers. The thick ones go on the outside of the ski here and here. The thin ones are supposed to go between the inside of the ski and the spindle on both sides, and it's not looking like I've got enough room in there. And the instructions do say that some sleds just won't need those washers, so I'm guessing that I'm gonna fall into that category. I guess we'll get the hardware mounted up and tighten everything down and just kind of see what it looks like. So I'm gonna stick one of the thick washers on my bolt here. I'm gonna get this all greased up, and then I will slide this through from the outside like that. To be completely honest with you guys, this part really kind of stinks, at least the first go around anyways. It seems like after you ride around a little bit, this pad squishes down or at least forms a little bit to your spindle. So the next time you go to remove them, they're a little bit easier to get back on, but this first time is really kind of a pain. Yeah, so you end up running into the hat channel over here, and basically it's just a matter of getting those holes to all line up. See if I can convince that to lean over a bit. There we go. We'll get our other big washer on and the nylock nut. It looks like that cinched down pretty well, so I think no washers was the right choice there. So I'll get that other one fastened down, and then it's time for the fun part. Let's hit the trail. So I do not think that this thing has ever handled this well. With those other skis on here from the ZR6000, I could definitely tell it was an improvement. And honestly, I don't know why nothing that I did to the ZR6000 was so evident right away. But man, these just really fit this sled so well. And like, honestly, I was kind of maybe a little bit concerned just because these weren't necessarily for a 4-stroke. And obviously we kind of went through that a little bit, that the 4-stroke ones are really more for deep powder to kind of compensate for the weight. But right now for trail riding like I do, and I mean that's really why we went with these. 99% of the riding that I do is what you're looking at right here. But man, these just feel like they fit this sled so well. And I don't know if it's just because the little bit of extra weight on the front or what the deal is, but man, I mean, these just make this handle just so beautifully. And I promise they're not paying me to tell you this. Just really makes such a big difference. The shocks on the front here could definitely be improved quite a bit. But other than that, I mean, like, I almost feel like this handle's better. And maybe it's the conditions. I don't know. I almost feel like this handle's better than the ZR did the last time I had it out. I guess I don't know what it is about this. I don't know if they do something different on the steering with the 4-stroke, that it's easier to turn. But this sled, I mean, I feel like I can turn the bars a lot easier than I could on the ZR last time I had it out. Maybe it's something to do with the studs too. I don't know what it is. I love it though. This combination is like perfect. And these trails, just like the last time I was out, are really hard. Pretty much all of Wisconsin got a good bit of rain. Not so much up here, but as you can see there, lots of ice out here. And the trail, I mean, if you get off and give this a kick, I mean, this looks like snow, but I mean, it's mostly just a step above ice for the most part. I mean, these conditions are hard. Maybe the sun helps a little bit too, I suppose. Obviously quite a bit of ice right there. Because of the profile of these skis with those extra little runners on each side of the carbide, it really does damp down the darting quite a bit. And I suppose it makes sense that these being a little bit wider kind of damp down the darting even more. I guess maybe it's something to do with the Woody's 8-inch carbide versus the Stud Boy shaper on the ZR, but man, I don't know. I just feel like this handles so much better, and maybe it is completely 100% the conditions, but boy, it is a cold day. I guess last time it was a little warmer and overcast. The sun could change things drastically, but man, these feel good. Yeah, I mean, look at that. As hard as these conditions are, I mean, this thing just tracks so straight. Wow. There's some dirt showing through. Surprised there's not more of that yet. I think by the time you guys see this, it'll already have happened, but we got, I think, 40-degree days pretty solidly through next week, and one day that's even going to be 55. Who's excited for that? I'm going to say I wouldn't mind a few more days, but glad we're getting out today to do some riding. There's some curvies. Ooh. Yeah, that holds the line pretty nice. I'm wondering if this sun is breaking this up a little bit. Actually, even when I went to kick it, it wasn't near as hard as I thought it was going to be. Woo! Sliding the rear end with the studs, though. I think those have kind of become a little bit dull over the years, though. I can't believe that. I guess it must be just the carbides or the conditions, but man, I almost feel like I could even add a little bit more pressure to the skis, where with the stock skis and the 6-inch carbides that I had on here before, sometimes it almost felt like I needed less. So man, I don't know, these are nice. I don't know why, but those shadows always throw me off. Hard to tell what's going on. There's actually quite a few sleds parked at the local establishments on the way up here. Now there, that felt a little harder. Yeah, so maybe that is what's going on. Might just have some soft, sunny 11-degree snow, and that's why it's feeling a little looser when we're out of the shade.
Yeah, there we're a little bit more grabby. But even still, I think these definitely seem like they are a little bit better turning than the stock skis with long carbides. And maybe I've got that wrong in my head. I honestly don't know. You would think with the extra runners on each side that would make things worse, but maybe it's something to do with just the shape of the ski. But that is one thing that C&A actually specifically asked me to mention, and I think it's definitely something that you really need to think about before you buy a set of these, or even really just a longer set of single runner carbides. When you go to a more aggressive ski like this, it is going to be harder to turn the bars. And like I said, on this sled, for whatever reason, something to do with the steering geometry, it's a little bit easier to turn than the ZR6000 is. But that sled, especially, I've noticed that like last time I was out when the conditions were hard, I was getting tired trying to turn the bars. And I mean, I think that's just something that is just kind of a trade-off. You either have easier turning and less grip when you go around the corners. You might end up pushing then, like I had issues with this sled to begin with the dualies. I mean, it's just something that I think you have to kind of evaluate and figure out, you know, what do you want more and what type of rider are you. If you're somebody that doesn't like to go fast around the corners, you might not need a more aggressive set of skis. You might not even need a more aggressive carbide. But if you're somebody like me that was very disappointed in the amount of grip that both this sled and the ZR6000 had going around the corners with the stock skis and the stock carbides, I would say at the very least look at a set of single runner carbides. But I think if you're wanting to go a step above that even, and you want a performance ski that's going to give you a little bit more lift in the powder and is definitely going to make things a lot more stable out on the trails, then I would say definitely look into what C&A has for a lineup. Feel free to email them. They are awesome at getting back to you and awesome at making recommendations. I could not have picked these better myself. I am just so happy with how these worked out. And so I would say talk to them, tell them, you know, what type of sled you got, what type of riding you do, and what you want to get out of it. And you might end up with a ski that you wouldn't think you would have, but you might be really happy with it. And boy, I could not be happier. It'd be interesting to see what the 4-stroke model would do, and maybe if I get a 4-stroke with a little bit longer track, I'll have to see if they'll send me a set of those, and maybe we'll do some powder riding if we ever actually get some powder to ride in. But honestly, I mean, this is a blast getting out here and doing this. And if you guys have trails that are still open by you, make sure you get out and enjoy those if you still can while they're still open. Other than that, guys, if you want to check out some more videos, here they are at the top. Check out that subscribe button down at the bottom there. If you click that little guy and click the bell after you're subscribed, it will let you know anytime I put one of these videos out. Got some plans coming for next year that cannot wait to show you guys, and really looking forward to talking to you guys then. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, enjoy your summer if you don't watch anything other than the sled videos, and get out and enjoy this beautiful world.